What is up? What's going on, Passionistas? Lindsay Nadler here. Welcome to day one of Zero F's Given. How are y'all doing? Happy Monday. I am so excited to bring you guys this free 3-day course. We have got so much in store for the next 3 days. I'm so excited to meet you all. We've got some new ladies here in the group. I know many of you will be watching the replay as well. So if you are watching the replay, comment below. If you're on with me live, comment, give me your best emoji. Let me know if you can hear me and see me. I'm super excited for today. We have got an incredible 3 days, like I said, where we're going to talk about how to go from this fear of what other people think, this fear of being annoying, salesy, awkward, weird, to being authentic and unapologetic and showing up on social media and showing up online in an even bigger way. And so I would love to hear from you in the comments a little bit about what some of your hesitations are when it comes to showing up online, when it comes to showing up on social media. Do you want to post more pictures of yourself? Do you want to be able to just hop on a live video like this and do a mini training? Do you want to be able to share more of your story? Do you want to be more vulnerable with your posts? What is the thing that you want to do the most when it comes to showing up on social media that fear is holding you back from? So what is holding you back? It's important for us to identify that as we move through these next 3 days so that we can really begin to take action from an aligned, empowered place. And so what we're going to talk about today in training number 1 is why, as women, we actually struggle with this so much. Why, as women, we care so much about what people think, why we care so much about the ever elusive they, what will they say? What will they think? What are they going to do? Well, I don't want anybody. Well, who is anybody? I don't want people to, well, who are the people? Okay. So we're going to talk about really specifically why this is such a struggle for women and how we can take action regardless of the elusive they or the people or, whatever anybody thinks. So love to hear from you in the comments if you are picking up what I'm putting down and if this has been a struggle with you. And the reason that I wanted to do this training is because one of the things that I see happen over and over and over again with female entrepreneurs, no matter the stage of their business, whether they're earning 6 figures, 7 figures, 5K months, or they're just getting started, this hurdle of showing up authentically, showing up powerfully, being able to own your accomplishments, own your story, really share what you believe, really make an impact, really continue to do this do this consistently without getting exhausted and burn out. This fear of what will people say or think, or I want to be liked, I want to please people, I don't want to let anybody down, I don't want anybody to be mad at me, I don't want to be disappointed, becomes this monster in their brain. It becomes this thing that is constantly weighing them down, and it turns into this self-conscious, ego-driven type of behavior, or this phenomenon begins to happen that I see so many female entrepreneurs go through like clockwork. And I've talked about this on my podcast before, where we start to do something that I've coined the term called high-level hiding. Hey, if you're familiar with what high-level hiding means, let me know in the comments, okay? What this means is when you are checking off all of your business in a box, okay? You're checking off all the things that you think you're supposed to do online, and you're doing the inspirational quote, and you're putting out all this content, and you're engaging, and you're doing all of this stuff, right? But you're not letting who you really are and what you've really been through and where you're really going be seen. And so then you get frustrated because people are hiring other people, or they're not signing up with you, or you're not earning the income that you want to earn. And you're like, but I am doing this social media thing. And then it becomes this love-hate with social media, and you become very resentful because you feel like you're putting out all this content, you feel like you're doing all this stuff, but the truth is you're high level hiding. You're putting out vanilla things or things that are just enough and not really letting your passion, your opinions, what you believe, who you are, where you come from, sharing your story, your testimony. You're not really letting all of that shine. You're not letting your quirks, your weirdness, your style. You're not owning every single part of who you are. You have not yet gotten to this point, which I believe is one of the most powerful places that you can be as a woman, where you give 0 Fs, where I am going after my vision and building my business. I am serving the people that I'm called to serve, and I don't make decisions and I don't take action or inaction based on anyone's opinion, especially not strangers on the internet that do not pay my bills, do not live behind my 4 walls, and don't have any type of real fruit in their lives that I would want. Does that make sense? So many of us are like listening to people in the cheap seats that are not in the arena. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're listening to people that all they do is talk because they don't have dreams of their own. And here's what I want you to understand is that you are going to be super annoying, you're going to be super annoying, and you're going to really grind on those people. Okay. So you've got to be able to let that go. When somebody who is not chasing their dreams or is living in their own insecurities or is living in their own fear sees somebody head first going after their dreams and what they're called to do, that's going to annoy them, and they're always going to have something to say. Okay. So the thing that I always love to that I would ask yourself is, are you listening to the opinions of people that have 0 investment in your life? Okay. Like I said, like, they're not paying your bills. They don't live behind your 4 walls. They're not even your ideal client. Like, they're not even somebody that you would ever work with or that is ever going to work with you. Does that make sense? So many of you are, and I've went through this too. Okay. We're afraid to post things, to fully step into our power and own who we are and our expertise and what we're doing, even if we're new at it, because, our family or our friends from high school or somebody that you haven't seen in forever that knew you way back when, okay, before you transformed, might see it. And what will they say or think? Knowing that person is never going to work with you. Your Uncle Sal or your, your aunt, whoever, like they're not your idol clients. So why are we concerned about how that content may or may not land for them? So you've got to get real clear on how are you using social media and for what purpose. Me, Lindsay Nadler, I use my social media for my business. I am not interested in connecting with friends from high school or, I don't use social media as a way to update my family on things that are going on in my life. I use social media for business. So I am, my friends are business associates or potential ideal clients, or, I create content for my ideal client. I am not creating content for my family members or for people that I went to high school with or for anybody else other than that. So here's where I want you to shift. Okay. And we're going to get into some more mindset training today on what that might be where that might be rooted for you. But here's what I want you to give, where I want you to shift. In order for you to give 0 Fs, 0 fucks, okay, in order for you to be unfuckwithable, and I'm going to cuss a lot in this training, so just if that's not your thing, guess what? I give 0 Fs. But in order for you to give 0 Fs, you actually have to get clear on what you do and who you do give 0 Fs about. Does that make sense? So in order for me to not care about being perceived a certain way or being awkward or annoying or salesy or whatever the fear is that's holding you back, I've got to get so clear about who I do care about, which is my ideal client and the people that I'm called to serve and the people that I'm called to make an impact on their life. When you are concerned about serving them, adding value, creating content that speaks straight to a pain point, creating content that solves a problem, and you are totally in integrity about that, meaning that this is based on your expertise. You didn't like copy this from somebody somewhere. Like this is based on your A to B, how you went from A to B, your framework. The more confident that you become in how you serve and facilitate a transformation and facilitate a result for those clients, the more F's you give about that, the less F's you're going to give about the opinions of people that are not really attributing to what you're trying to create in the world. Does that make sense? If you're following me, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, drop me an emoji. Let me know in the comments if this is resonating with you. So I want to circle back and I want us to understand, number one, why as women we care so much about what people think and why this is affecting women entrepreneurs so much. And it makes me so sad because I know some of the most brilliant, amazing, incredible women that just refuse to let their full power, to just let themselves be seen. Okay. The number one reason that many of us care so much is because it's actually wired into us biologically to be accepted and to need to belong to a group. Okay. If you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, okay. So like the base need is obviously like food, rest, shelter, clothing, like you're just hardcore like physiological needs. And then right above that is actually belonging and community and feeling a part of a group. And this gets reconditioned in you from a very young age in school settings, peer settings, being a part of the in crowd, the cool club, whatever club, clique, friend pattern that you have. Okay. And especially as young women, add an additional little sprinkle of patriarchy onto that, which for most of us, we have been taught that as women, our identity and our worth is very much measured by how pleasing we are, by how nice we are, about being a good girl, following the rules, about staying in that circle, in that box, staying in that whole peer group. I mean, if you even look at how our schools train girls to compete with one another, like the homecoming court and, all of these competitive driven things for women about who's accepted and who's not and what will people think and putting on airs. Our society, modern mainstream society, does not teach women to be bold leaders. Now, we have come a super long way in this regard, and so many messages are changing, but we still have a very long way to go to get to 0 F's given, which I believe is one of the most powerful places that a woman could be in. When you are 100% committed to your calling, you're going after your dreams, you're waking up every single day connected to your passion and doing what you were put on this planet to do, regardless of what anybody has to say or think about it. And that doesn't mean that we don't, at the same time, hold space for ourselves and almost juggle this dueling thought process where as a human, like giving yourself grace, as a human, you're wired to care what people think. You're wired to be a part of the group. You're wired to, that's like a part of being a human is you want to belong, is you want to be a part of the in crowd. You want to be accepted. You want to be the cool kid. You want to know that you're loved. You want to know that you're worth it. Okay. So I think that for a lot of women, just getting rid of this shame, okay, and admitting, no, I do care what people think. That's a part of being human. Yeah, there's a part of my ego in there that still is affected by what people say and think and still wants that approval, still wants to be pleasing, still wants that clap, that good job, still wants that affirmation. So if you can begin to lovingly observe that and say, hey, I'm not going to beat myself up because I've made decisions based on that. I'm not going to beat myself up because I do care. I'm not going to beat myself up because I've been hiding. I'm not going to beat myself up out of fear because I, want to be a part. All of the little messages and stories that we have from being a kid. I'm not going to beat myself up for that being in my consciousness. I'm not going to beat myself up for that perpetuating. Does that make sense? So we've got to look at that as a loving outside observer and say, yeah, that was a part of being human. That's a part of my growth. That's a part of my transformation. That's a part of that's a part of this whole process. That's a whole part of this struggle. Okay. Then we have to make the conscious shift and the choice as a mature woman, an adult who is every single day getting more and more comfortable and more safe with her power and what she needs and what she doesn't need. Does that make sense? So we've got to hold that space. And then at the same time, we've got to say, no, my passion and my purpose is greater and is at a higher level than any of that stuff. And this is just my opinion. This is what I believe, is that as humans, we have divine nature in us, that we are children of God, and that every single day we have an opportunity to choose to be supernatural, to choose to be miracle workers, to choose to let that amazing, incredible, divine oneness flow through us. Okay. And we make that choice every single day to walk out in our highest self when we choose this, I live for the opinion and approval of no one. Okay. Because I know that if I live for the opinion and approval of people, then I will also die by that. And that is not a solid foundation to live or much less run your business. Okay. And it's not leadership. So leaders are very, very clear on number one, what they're called to do, what the mission is, and who they're called to serve. Okay. And they also have accepted the fact, like you're resound to the fact that oftentimes leaders are not liked. Let me say that again. Many times being a leader means that you signed up to a life where you're not going to be liked. You're not going to be liked. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to make hard decisions and have hard conversations. And people are not going to agree with that. People are not going to like you. People are going to judge you. Seriously, people are going to judge you. People are going to troll you. People are going to put you on a pedestal and then be furious when you don't meet their expectations. People are going to expect you to read their minds. Okay. And you're not. You're going to let people down. But the more that you can get rooted, and I'm a leader, and though I may not be liked by everyone, people may disagree with me, people are going to, all of that's going to happen. Ultimately, I have to be able to sleep at night. I have to be able to put my head on my pillow knowing I was in 100% integrity and that I love myself and that I am grounded and rooted in who I am as a child of the universe, as a child of God, and that I know what I'm called to and who I'm called to serve. And that I can own my mistakes. I can own my decisions. I give myself permission to evolve. I give myself permission not to get it right. I give myself permission to fail. I give myself permission. And this is where I want you to lean in. Okay. Because this is how we shift from knowing why we care so much about what people think to taking action regardless of that, is that I know that I'm called to be a leader. I know that I've been put on this planet for more. I know that even despite all of that, I'm moving in the direction of my dreams. Does this make sense, guys? Let me know if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Let me know if this is resonating with you, even if you're watching the replay. We take action despite our fear, despite what we're struggling with. And that is actually the definition of courage. And I just truly believe that in 2020, in modern online entrepreneurship, it takes a lot of courage to be here. This is like the mark of the leader. This is the way of the warrior. And I think when you hear the word warrior, a lot of people immediately go, ooh, I'm not trying to be all like intense and heavy or whatever. That's actually not what it means. To be a warrior means that you're steadfast, that you are rooted in integrity, that you show up and you're committed to your mission, you're committed to the assignment, you're committed to your people, to your comrades, to your peers, no matter what. No matter what. So I think now, and I've said this before, with everything that's going on in 2020, and it's like every single day I'm going, what's next? Like, what chapter of Revelation are we doing today? Like 2020 is like the shit show. Okay. Like, when is this changing? When is this going to be over? And the real question to ask is what if it's not? What if this is your new normal? And I truly believe that 2020 has been this epic reckoning of what it truly means to be a leader online, what it truly means to let yourself be seen, to stand firm in what you believe, in what you're called to, who you're called to, and to show up consistently with massive integrity, with massive authenticity, and a heart to serve. When we choose to show up despite fear, when we choose to show up shaking, weird, awkward, quirky, doing what we know we're called to do, even when we feel afraid, that's courage. And every single time you do that, okay, so listen, guys, every single time you're able to identify, okay, here's that old cycle, here's that old story where I am letting my need to belong and to be a part of the group and to be pleasing or to be good, like whatever narrative you have, and that's going to be a part of your homework today, is to really identify what narrative is at play in your life. I'm just writing this down so I don't forget. What narrative is at play in your life? And very specifically, who are the they? Who are the people? Who are the ones that you're afraid of what they may say, what they may think, what they may talk about? How will you feel about that? When we can identify, hey, this narrative is at place here, okay? But because I'm a leader and because I am called to be courageous and because I know what my mission is and I'm so connected to my passion, okay, guys, this group is called Make Your Passion Pay You. This is what it takes. This is what it takes. No longer are the days of, hey, it's like, post some pretty pictures on Insta, post a few quotes, all that vanilla content that we talked about, the high level hiding stuff. It doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it. And guys, it never really did. It never did. Those days are over. 2020 and moving forward is the mark of the heart-centered leader. The woman who is willing to show up and to show up consistently in a bigger, deeper, more vulnerable, authentic way. She's willing to do that despite her fear. She's willing to do it despite her fear. Okay. That is the mark of the leader. So I want us to lean into that. And I would say for your homework today is I want you to identify that narrative and I want you to get very, very specific. Who is the person? Who is the person? The people, the people that you are so concerned about. Okay. Is it literally your family, like your mom? Is it from high school? Is it your peers? Is it like literally who is it? We have to get so logical and very brass tacks about what exactly it is that we are afraid of and who exactly it is that we are just like surrendering our business to in order for us to overcome it. Does that make sense? Because oftentimes I will hear women say this, well, well, I don't want anybody to think this. I'm like, well, who is the anybody? Like specifically. Well, you know, I don't want to annoy people. What people? Your followers or just a random like be specific with this because and this is what the reason why I'm harping on this is because one of the ways that fear gets so out of control and so crazy is that it's not rooted in any type of logic or specifics. Does that make sense? And it gets so irrational and so general where it just starts swirling. And it's one of the ways that fear operates because if we're general and we're swirling and we're not specific and logical, then your imagination can run away with you. Anxiety can run away with you. You start to see things that aren't there. Like how many of us have experienced a situation like that? It's the same thing in your business. So what narrative is at place and who specifically are you afraid of disappointing? 9 times out of 10. Okay. And I want to hear your answers. So be sure that you come back in the group or come comment on this and let me know. 9 times out of 10, it is rooted in an inner mean girl voice or an inner critic from your childhood or from your past. Okay. It's rooted in an area that you actually need to do some forgiveness work. You need to do some healing. You need to release whoever that is that's chirping in your head. Maybe it's the voice of a parent or a mentor. Maybe it's someone that made fun of you as a child. Maybe it's the group of mean girls that bullied you. Maybe what is it? What voice is really at play when we're talking about the them, the they, the people, the anybody that we're so concerned about? Okay. And then what we do to shift that, just to recap, when we shift away from that, we've got to get very specific about who we actually give an F about, okay? And who we are called to serve and what we are called to serve them with, okay? And when we do that from a place of massive integrity and massive authenticity, knowing that this is my expertise, this is what I'm called to do. And when we can embrace those imperfections and embrace all of the things that we actually think people are going to have something to say about, that's actually what makes you you. And that's what is actually going to attract people to you. And the more that you can live and accept with knowing who you are, loving who you are, okay, regardless of what anybody has to say about it or doesn't have to say about it, the more happier you'll be, the more passionate you'll be, the more clear you will be about your message. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to entertain some chatter along the way as a human, like we talked about, right? That doesn't mean that's not ever going to come into play again. Like, it doesn't mean that it's never going to, you're never going to be like, oh shit, right before you go live. It doesn't mean that you're never going to have a vulnerability hangover again. I swear, y'all, my life as an Enneagram 8 and somebody who is building a business on online and using social media to do that, and I do my best to be an open book about where I'm at in my life and what I'm growing through and learning and all of those stuff. I swear my whole life is nursing a vulnerability hangover because there's more and more levels and layers to that. And what that means is that, there's going to be moments where I'm like, should I post this? Or, what if this, what if that? But as a leader, the time frame to letting that affect me and the time frame of letting me be paralyzed in fear or self-sabotaging or not posting for a week or continue to put these live videos off or whatever it is for you to where you're not showing up becomes less and less and less. Does that make sense? And that's when we actually use our God-given brains to create thoughts that create feelings, that create action, that drives results. And so part of being a leader is taking that action. And the more you take that action, the more you're willing to nurse that vulnerability hangover, the more that you're willing to shorten the amount of time that you that you essentially let that thought come in about who so-and-so, Uncle Joe, or what's my dad or my mom going to think? What's my sister going to have to say? Or, what happens when I go live and a person I hadn't seen from high school just pops up on there and it's like, oh shit, who's had that happen? I've had that happen a ton. But what I know at the end of the day is that I'm not called to serve them. I'm not called to serve them. And I give myself permission and grace to be 100% who I am in my journey, whatever that looks like, however imperfect, however all over the place, however whatever, because I know what I'm called to and I know where I'm going, and that's how I live my life. Okay, I am not living my life for the opinion and approval of people that are not in the arena with me. Okay. That doesn't mean that I don't listen. That doesn't mean that I don't respect other people. That's not what any of it means. That doesn't mean that I'm not concerned about human beings and how they feel and their experience. But someone's opinion does not get to dictate my success. The fear of what someone's opinion may be, it's not even real. It's not even rooted in any type of logic or reality, but it's just this fear of what they might, of something that hasn't even happened yet. That doesn't get to dictate my success. It doesn't get to dictate where I'm headed. And most importantly, it doesn't get to dictate the impact that I'm called to make on you. Because here's where we've got to come full circle with this, guys. And this is what we're going to wrap up with, is that we have to give ourselves permission to be the girl that goes for it. That's kind of like what I want on my tombstone. Actually, I don't think I'm going to be buried. I think I'm going to be cremated. That's a whole other deal. So I won't even have a tombstone. But that's what I have made a decision that I want to be known for, is the girl that went for it. The girl that goes for it. Because when you go for it, please understand this as a woman. When you make a decision to go for it, when you make a decision to be brave, to make the leap, to jump, to go live, to press post, to press play, to put that picture up, to share what really happened, to be vulnerable, oh my God, it gives other people permission to do the same thing. That's how we empower people. That's how we help set people free. That's how we grow. That's how we evolve. So we have to give ourselves permission to be the girl that goes for it, regardless of the fear, regardless of the result, regardless of whatever. When you give 0 Fs and you go for it, oh my gosh, the next time becomes easier and easier and easier. Giving 0 Fs happens on the other side of action. It happens on the other side of going for it. Does this make sense, guys? Is this resonating with you? Drop me an emoji, even on the replay if it is. I think a lot of times people are waiting around for their feelings to change and then they'll take action, which is, I highly recommend, if you don't know already, that you're not a victim to your emotions and you don't have to live in a reactionary stance to what you think or feel. You can actually create your feelings. You can create your feelings by the thoughts that you think on purpose and that you actually believe. Okay. So, but the more that you take action, the less that fear, the less that thing is going to begin to come up for you. It's a skill set, just like anything else. Giving 0 Fs and showing up is a skill set. Learning how to talk on video is a skill set. Learning how to develop entrepreneurial endurance is a skill set. You didn't just come out of the womb knowing how to do all this stuff. You didn't just, you shouldn't just, you're not going to just automatically know how to do it. Confidence many times gets bred through competency, which comes through action. Okay. So we can't just wait around and think, well, I won't be afraid anymore, or I'm going to wait around until I am 100% like, don't care what anybody thinks, and then I'll take action. I'm going to wait and I'm not going to do this. And so that's how perfectionism and our ego is super sneaky, right? There's always ways that ego and perfectionism is trying to sneak in into our business and into our life. And anytime you're saying, well, I'm going to wait until, well, when I this, when procrastination is starting to come, there's usually always a root of perfectionism. Okay. And for me, how I have gotten to a place of giving zero F's and being totally rooted in who I am and what I'm called to do has come through action. It has come through doing the inner work for sure, giving myself grace, lovingly observing, identifying the story that's at place, getting and then getting connected, making a choice to be connected to my mission, the people that I'm called to impact, my ideal client, why I'm here, where I'm going, what I want for my life, what I want other women to realize that they can have in their life. And then I take action regardless. I take action. And the more that you take action, the more you press play, the more that you show up, the more that you post, the more you will realize just how powerful you are. And that nothing is more powerful than you. Hear me. Nothing is more powerful than you unless you have set it to be so. So many of us are giving our power away to the opinions of other people. And it is the reason why you don't know who you are and you don't know what you're called to do. Because you haven't been rooted in what your opinion is. No, what do you believe? No, what do you want for your life? No, what have you been called to do? If you don't know, that's totally cool, but it's not going to come through constantly being pulled, living for other people, listening to the opinions of other people, worried if you'll be annoying, worried if you'll be awkward, worried if they'll get it, support you, accept you, whatever expectation you've put on them. It's not how it's going to happen. Not how it's going to happen. So we become more confident. We become more rooted in who we are when we know what we believe and we know what we want and we know what our opinions are and where we stand. And, or if we're on a process to discovering what that is. Okay. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. I have told you guys that we're going to try to keep these trainings at 30 minutes because I know a lot of you guys are on your lunch break. And that's just about how much time the human brain can digest in one sitting. So I want to recap really quickly. Number one, the reason why we care so much about what people think is because we've been conditioned to, biologically, sociologically, and because of a lot of patriarchal narratives. As women, we deal with a higher degree of what will people say or think than men, than most people. Okay. And identifying it early on in your business is going to be a game changer for you. We make the shift and take action regardless when we zero in on who we actually give an F about and what we're called to do and what our purpose is. And we make a conscious decision anytime this thing is rearing its ugly head is, what is this rooted in? What narrative, what story is at play here? Whose approval am I actually wanting? And whose approval am I actually living for right now? Okay. How am I giving my power away to the they, to the someone, to the people, which is usually always a representative of someone specific from your past or from your childhood? How am I giving that power away? And what am I going to consciously choose to do in order to take that power back and show up weirdness, quirkiness, awkwardness, myselfness, totally authentic so that I can impact people? How am I going to make a choice today to be the girl that goes for it? Because when I make a decision, a choice to be the girl that goes for it, despite fear, despite opinions, despite all of the things that my ego, that inner mean girl, that inner critic is telling you to try to keep you safe, right? Okay. To try to keep you in a space where you won't feel pain. Okay. Which is what the majority of us are trying to, escape from. When you can make a choice despite all that to be the girl that goes for it, this is going to get easier and easier. And you're going to be on that path to saying, you know what? F it. I'm not going to live my life. I'm not going to put my dreams on the shelf because of something that someone might say or think. And when we make that decision, we choose courage. And that is the way of the leader. That is the way of the warrior. And that is what the modern online entrepreneur in 2020 must embrace in order to keep your head above water here. If y'all don't know, let me just tell you, the online business industry has shifted dramatically in 2020. And I talked about this a minute ago, but the game has changed. And you have to learn. You have to learn what the game is. The game is 100% authenticity, integrity, ownership, radical responsibility, and no more high-level hiding. No more fake vanilla bullshit. No more of that. You have to be willing. This is an online business. This is social media. If you are not willing to truly be seen here, and I'm not talking about telling everything about your life. Okay. You can listen to my podcast episode I've created several of that. That's not what I'm saying. There needs to be boundaries and for sure privacy and what you are willing to share, but being open and transparent and authentic about who you are, especially if you are a personal brand. If you're a personal brand, if you're a coach, people want to know, what do you stand for? Who are you and what are you about? Okay. How do you roll? How do you operate? Like the game, we're playing a much bigger game. We're playing a much better game, and I am here for it. And if you are not willing to show up that way, if you are not willing to be transparent and to be an open book and to really let yourself be seen, flaws and all, it's like you need to go do something else, because that's the game that we're playing here. That's what it's about. And that's what people are hungry for. And it's beautiful because that is what is going to attract people to you and your brand and your business. Okay. And here's the last thing, and then we're going to be done. In online business, our job is to attract and repel, is to be polarizing. That's how abundance can operate, because there are going to be people that watch these videos of me talking and be like, she's not for me. And it's not anything that I'm doing. It's just like, maybe they don't like the sound of my voice or the vibe or my delivery. I'm not what they need. And that is 100% fine. I'm like, cool, go find another coach, because I'm not for you. And that's all right. The more that you can accept that, the more that you can actually get behind abundance, because that's what we're doing here. You've got to be willing for people to leave. You've got to be willing to know that not everybody is going to dig you. Not everybody's going to like you. And you don't need them to, because you're rooted and secure in who you are. You know who you are and what you're about and where your worth comes from and where your power comes from. Okay. So one thing that I always tell people, is this quote. A lot of people will ask me, well, Lindsay, how do I know what I'm passionate about? How do I know I want to start this business? I want to show up more on social. I want to create this online arm of my business, or I've got all these things, and how do I know, what I'm passionate about, what I should do? And I'll always say, hey, are you willing to be made fun of? Are you willing to be trolled? Are you willing to be called out? Are you willing for people not to like you? Are you willing to kind of bare your soul? Are you willing to truly be seen and to people say no? Because that's what this is about. And we have to stop making it mean things that are personal. Like it's not personal. And as women, we do have the tendency to make everything personal, to personalize absolutely everything. For example, like if you didn't hit a goal in your business, well, then you must be a horrible coach. Like, no, it was just a goal. It's neutral. Does that make sense? Well, nobody showed up to my live video, or there's only 3 people on here right now, so nobody must want it. They don't want me. They're rejecting me. Like, we're making it all about us when it's not. The truth is that people are busy. The truth is most people are going to watch the replay. The truth is maybe they're not for you. Who cares? Who cares? Are you going to do it anyway because you're so passionate about it? Are you going to do it anyway? That's how you know, is if you would do it anyway. If you're going to do it anyway, regardless of what people say, what they think, them telling you no, nobody showing up to your stuff, getting crickets, people unfollowing you, people hiding you, like whatever the deal is, would you do it anyway? That's how you know. That's how you know what you're called to. Because that is the way of the warrior. Would you do it anyway? All right, guys. So I'm going to wrap it up. For those of you watching the replay, let me know if this resonated with you. Tomorrow, same time, same place, we're going to be talking about training number 2, going from awkward to authentic, where we're really going to talk about how to embrace who you are. On social media, your quirks, your flaws, the things that you think are boring. So I would love to hear from you in the group. Actually, what is holding you back? Do you feel like, well, I don't know what to say, or not really much is happening in my life, or what do I post and when, or nobody wants to see me, or maybe you just can't stand hearing yourself talk. You're dealing with a lot of self-loathing or shaming issues going on. What is it? But we're going to talk about embracing the awkward, embracing the boring, embracing the quirk, really letting who you are show up online. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. So I would love to hear your feedback. Let me know where you're struggling. Let me know where you need support. And I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, here in the group. And if you also know women that you feel like would impact greatly from this training, invite them into the group. Okay, this is where tons of free value is. You can collaborate with people in here. Lots of good stuff happening here in the group, so feel free to invite them as well. So, all right, guys, remember that passion is everything, and I will talk with you tomorrow.